I was 16 when my father abandoned me at the airport. Not with a fight, not with shouting, just a quiet decision. We were standing near gate 27 when he suddenly handed my boarding pass to my younger sister. "There," he said casually. "You take it." My sister's face lit up instantly. "Seriously?" she asked. My stepmother nodded like this had been obvious all along. "Of course. You deserve it more." I stood there confused, holding the small suitcase that had been packed for the family vacation. "Wait, what?" I asked quietly. "That's my ticket." My father checked his watch like he was late for something more important. "Plans change," he said flatly. "But I'm coming with you," I replied. My stepmother laughed under her breath. "Don't make this dramatic." My sister was already clutching the ticket, like she'd won something. "She gets nervous on planes," my father continued, "so she needs the window seat." I blinked. "That doesn't mean I can't go." He looked at me the way someone looks at a small problem they don't want to deal with. "Listen," he said, lowering his voice slightly. "We only have 3 seats. Someone has to stay." My stepmother crossed her arms. "And frankly, you'll manage. You always do." My chest tightened. "I don't even have money to get home," I said. My father shrugged. "You're 16. Figure it out." Then he took the suitcase from my hand and passed it to my sister like the decision had already been finalized. "Come on," he told them. "Boarding starts soon." They started walking toward the gate. None of them looked back. No apology. No hesitation. Just gone. I didn't chase them. I didn't shout. I just sat down on a cold metal chair and watched people walk past me with their families, their luggage, their lives moving forward. The loudspeaker called boarding for their flight a few minutes later. And just like that, my family disappeared onto the plane. For a while, I sat there staring at the floor. 16 years old. No ticket. No money. No plan. Airports are strange places at night. The crowds thin out, the lights dim slightly, and the silence between announcements gets longer. That's when someone sat down beside me. His jacket was worn. His beard was messy. A small cart with plastic bags sat beside his feet. A homeless man. He looked at me for a moment, then at the empty gate. "Kid," he said gently, "people don't sit in airports looking like that unless something bad just happened." I let out a quiet breath. "My family left," I said. He nodded slowly, like the answer didn't surprise him at all. "Happens more than people think," he murmured. Then he reached into one of his bags and handed me a wrapped sandwich. "Eat," he said. "You look like you haven't all day." I hesitated. He pushed it closer. "Trust me," he added softly, "sometimes the only people who notice you are the ones everyone else ignores." For the first time that night, someone had treated me like I existed. So I took the sandwich. We sat there quietly for a few minutes. Then suddenly 3 airport security officers started walking quickly toward us. The homeless man sighed under his breath. "Ah," he muttered, "here comes the usual trouble." But when the officers reached us, they didn't look at me. They looked at him. And one of them spoke with unexpected respect. "Sir," the officer said, "the airline chairman just arrived." The man blinked. "He's asking to see you." Your one click can keep these stories alive. Subscribe, because every voice deserves to be heard. The homeless man looked at the security officer, then back at me. For a moment, he didn't move. "You sure he means me?" he asked calmly. The officer nodded. "Yes, sir. He said to bring you upstairs immediately." The man sighed like this kind of thing happened more often than it should. "Kid," he said quietly to me, "looks like my evening just got complicated." Before I could ask anything, the officers stepped aside respectfully, waiting for him. But instead of leaving right away, the man turned to me again. "You got somewhere to go tonight?" he asked. I shook my head. "No." The officer overheard and frowned slightly. "How old are you?" he asked. 16. The homeless man rubbed his chin for a moment, thinking. Then he pointed toward the officers. All right, he said calmly. Then we're not leaving this kid here. The officers exchanged looks. Sir, one of them asked. He's coming with us. The man replied simply. 10 minutes later, I found myself inside a private elevator heading to the top floor of the airport administration building. I had no idea what was happening. The doors opened into a quiet hallway with glass walls overlooking the runway, and standing near the windows was a tall man in a sharp navy suit, the airline chairman. The moment he saw the homeless man, his face lit up with relief. Finally, he said, walking forward, I've been looking everywhere for you. The man beside me smiled, faintly. You always did exaggerate, he replied. The chairman laughed, then noticed me standing there. And who is this? The homeless man gestured toward me. A kid who got left behind. The chairman's expression immediately changed. What do you mean left behind? So I told them, not dramatically, just the facts. My father, the ticket, the plane leaving without me. When I finished, the room was quiet. The chairman shook his head slowly. Unbelievable. Then he looked at the man beside me. Well, what do you think? The homeless man studied me carefully. You sat there quietly for hours, he said. I nodded. You didn't chase them. No, you didn't beg. I shook my head. He smiled slightly. Good. Then he turned to the chairman. Find this kid a safe place to stay tonight. The chairman nodded immediately. Done. That night, I slept in a small airport guest suite. The next morning, the chairman himself drove me to a youth housing program the airline supported. Before I got out of the car, the homeless man leaned forward from the passenger seat. Kid, he said calmly, what are you good at? I thought about it for a moment. Fixing things, I said. Machines, electronics, stuff like that. He nodded like that answer mattered. Good skill. Then he handed me a small card. It only had a name on it and a phone number. Call that number when you turn 18, he said, if you still like fixing things. I stared at the card. Why? He smiled faintly. Because sometimes the people who get left behind end up building better things. Then the car drove away. Life didn't magically become easy after that, but it changed. The housing program helped me finish school. I spent every spare hour learning how things worked, computers, mechanical systems, electronics. 2 years later, the day I turned 18, I looked at the card again. The same number, the same simple name. So I called it. The person who answered said only 3 words. We've been waiting. Within a month, I was working as an apprentice in a small technology repair division connected to the airline's engineering department. Quietly, no announcements, no big speeches. I just worked. Years passed. I learned fast. Promotions came quietly, while the people who once left me behind probably forgot I existed. I was building a life they had never imagined. But the strangest part was this. I never saw the homeless man again, not once, until 8 years later, when the entire company gathered for a leadership announcement, and someone walked onto the stage who looked very familiar. Don't miss out on the journey. Subscribe, and let's grow, laugh, and learn together. 8 years later, the homeless man was revealed as the airline's founder. He smiled at me and said, I saw potential. Silence built my future.